the world is still waiting for a verdict in the Raj Rajaratnam trial to find out if the key figure in the biggest ever crackdown on insider trading is convicted or walks free. Wiretaps are central to the government's case, and yesterday jurors asked to listen to some of the tapes again. The question, is that good for the prosecution or perhaps good for Raj Rajaratnam? Daniel Ruzumna is a lawyer with deep experience in white-collar crime and wiretaps. He's the former chief of the U.S. Attorney's Major Crimes Unit here in Manhattan, and he's currently a partner at Patterson, Belknap, Webb, and Tyler. Daniel, welcome to the Inside Track. So, answer the question for us. Good for Raj or good for the prosecution?
Well, conventional wisdom tells us that listening to jury notes and trying to figure out what they mean is awfully like reading tea leaves. It's very difficult to tell what it means. However, in this case, the jury yesterday asked to hear back 9 particular tapes and 9 conversations that involved Raj Rajaratnam. And what you like to hear if you're the prosecution is that they're asking for evidence that helps your case. And the wiretaps have been central to the government's case from the beginning. The government has rested its case on these wiretaps. The closing arguments and the rebuttal focused on the wiretaps. So asking for the jury asking to hear back these 9 tapes, I think is actually good for the prosecution.
And in this particular case, they're listening to tapes that had to do with conversations Raj had with Anil Kumar, for example, the partner at McKinsey, and conversations surrounding AMD.
Correct. And that obviously, Kumar is one of the strong witnesses. There's another conversation with another one of the cooperating witnesses. And perhaps most importantly, there's a conversation that the jury asked to hear back that the government has characterized as Raj telling his colleagues how to cover up the crime, how to make an email trail to make it look like the trading that they were doing was not based on inside tips, but based on normal conversations among colleagues.
Could we not just as easily make the argument for the other side that the jury wants to listen to these tapes because it feels an obligation to be as conscientious, cautious, as circumspect as possible? Goodness, if we're really considering, if we are going to consider the possibility of putting this guy away for 20 years, we'd really better be careful about what's on these tapes. And if we can't be certain, we can't convict.
I think that's a fair point, Eric. And juries are very careful when they listen to tapes, when they listen to evidence, when they look at the evidence. So, you know, we will have 12 people all having to decide unanimously what the verdict is going to be. So it could be, as you suggest, the jury wanting to hear this to make sure they're doing it right. And that's what, you know, we as lawyers are hoping, that juries do get it right. And there is that possibility. Still, when you're focusing on these particular tapes, I think in the end, if there is a juror wavering one way or the other, these tapes will probably push them in the direction of the prosecution.
Now, I know you haven't dealt with a case just like this because wiretaps are brand new to insider trading investigations. That's what makes this case unique. But you have dealt with wiretaps in the past. In your experience, have you run into anything at all like this, where the jury was wrestling with the wiretaps or wanted to hear them again because it wanted to make sure that, goodness me, that evidence is just so compelling, we have no choice but to unanimously find the defendant guilty? Yes,
you know, as you said, wiretaps are unusual in white-collar crimes. And the reason for that is typically when you're dealing with white-collar business-type crimes, they are historical cases. They are cases that are investigated and prosecuted well after the fact. In what we call loosely blue-collar type crimes, violent crimes and the like, it is more common that wiretaps would be used because the crimes are continuing. So this is unusual. But when you do have a wiretap case, and before I was a defense lawyer, I was a prosecutor for many years, we did have wiretap cases, and jurors often do want to hear the tapes back. They want to focus on the exact language because, as the closing arguments show, in this case, the defense has characterized the tapes much differently than the prosecution. And the only way that jurors can know for sure is by hearing the tapes themselves one more time.
Well, we're going to find out what they think before long. We can only imagine that a verdict is forthcoming. How soon, we'll have to see. Daniel, thanks for your insights. Daniel Ruzumna, he's a partner at Patterson, Belknap, Webb, and Tyler, has a lot of experience in white-collar crimes and with wiretaps, and he thinks this development is a good sign for the prosecution.